percentage of what you spend with what you have, like you're saying, a balance versus going a little bit on the extreme side on either side.
I agree, because there's sometimes where you can do it, but you become so enamored with being frugal that you don't feel like, oh well, let's say somebody has the money, but they're like, no, I don't want to spend $200 on a wallet. That's such a waste. As opposed to having this mindset of, no, I work hard, I can create these opportunities, I deserve to enjoy these nice things. So it's an interesting dynamic where, yeah, you can't go crazy and be on the complete opposite end, go like, well, I'll figure it out, I'm just gonna buy whatever I want. By the same token, you want to be here where you can do it, but everything is like, no, I don't want to let go of the money. So it's a lot of this dynamic and energy where it's like, you need to let go, so there's a circulation of the money, that it's constantly flowing, because you can either let too much of it go to your detriment, but then there's also this blockage where you're hanging on to it, that you're not letting it exchange hands. You're not feeding it into other people's services or other people's, ability to help you. So then there's nothing. So I tell people all the time, like, it can get intertwined with guilt and unforgiveness. And so if you're hanging on so tightly to this guilt and this shame and unforgiveness, and you don't even want to let your money go, I said, look, you're holding on so tight that if you don't let it go, you're not allowing blessings and abundance to come to you. You're blocking it because you're just going like this. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to do anything. So that's the kind of stuff like we need to become aware of. Like, how is our relationship with money? What is how are you showing up, and what kind of energy is surrounding it? Because when you stop and think, you realize, oh, okay, I can start to see like why certain things are happening in my life.
Wow, that is fascinating, because what you're sharing is there's blockages, and a lot of times we can't identify those blockages ourselves, and not realizing that they can be detrimental to basically other money coming, not only you making the money, but other money coming our way. So you're able to so what you're saying is you're able to help that person go from a space of removing those blockages and seeing that even spending money could be a blessing that end up bringing more money into their lives.
Absolutely. And that's why I love coaching. I have a bunch of different coaches myself. It's like there's that exchange. There's that I am investing in myself, but I'm also investing in that person's business. Or if I buy somebody's product, there is this flow of energy and exchange of this money circulating. So it is very fascinating when you realize it really is not just about dollars and spreadsheets, that there's so much psychology behind it. There's so much energy and emotion behind all of it.
Wow. So the word flow, being able to, and I have a mentor and he mentioned that before, don't be a reservoir, be a river.
I love it. Right? Movement.
So you got to have that movement. And so this is where you come in and you help the person receive as well as give, and create that space of movement. That's beautiful. So when you are as a coach and you're meeting with your clients, share with me a little bit about how do you help them? Okay, now that they've received this awareness, when it comes to the budget, how do you connect that? Now they've had this new awareness. How are you connecting that to the budget, to their financial goals, and be able to help them move forward with what it is that they want to do or accomplish?
Yes, this is the interesting part. So now that they've recognized certain patterns or certain behaviors, and then we transfer onto the logistics, or we call the practical side. And I want to mention this too. Sometimes you wonder, whoa, is this stuff really important? And I say to that, if it wasn't, don't you think anybody could just go on Google and download a spreadsheet and we wouldn't be having these problems, right?
True.
So it's not just a matter of downloading a spreadsheet, because I just taught a workshop last week to some teenagers, and I said there are over thousands and thousands of budget templates. But if you don't understand certain things, if you don't understand the mechanics, if you don't understand the decisions you're making, it doesn't matter which file you download. It's not going to work. It may not work, but understand if it's not working, there's probably some blockages there. There's probably some behaviors that you're not aware of. So when you do see the patterns and the things that are coming up because we've identified like, oh, okay, this keeps popping up. When you start to have them look at the budget and analyze like, okay, why are we buying certain things? Why are we not investing in certain things? So that's where you start to put the pieces together, where there could be, you know, therapy shopping involved. There could be like, you know, they feel guilty, so they keep making a certain purchase. I mean, it's all kinds of different things like, well, that's my friend and I don't want to not buy this anymore. And I'm like, you're not even using it. Or, you know, even like subscriptions or like, you know, gym memberships or anything that they're not using, there's always some type of story. I mean, sometimes it's simple, they just didn't use it. But then there's sometimes a story where there's like this guilt and they don't understand why they keep buying something. So that's how that could help in that part of the process through that exercise of understanding like, oh, that's why I keep buying this. Or sometimes it's like, well, I can't let that go because they grew up with that. Their parents used to buy it when they were little. So it's one of those traditional things, but it's crazy because when you dig deep, you realize sometimes that that's not even serving them, but they're hanging on to it for a different reason. And sometimes it's guilt. Sometimes it's shame. Sometimes it's like they just, or it could be like, well, I feel good, but then it's like, well, this is not helping you go towards your financial goals. Like you're in your own way of achieving what you need to do because the money is going to places that it shouldn't be going to. And so that's where you start to bring in the logistics and the practicals, because now you're putting the numbers on top of the things that we just talked about. And now it's starting to make more sense. Now it's not just me saying like, well, why can't you do the spreadsheet? Because now there's a greater understanding behind the numbers. This is why the transformative change is so much more lasting. Because think about it, how many times do people, you know, they do a budget and it's like, I've heard it all the time, like I tried the budget and then I lasted about 2 months and then I gave up. It's because you just try to jump to the spreadsheet and just plug in the numbers, but there was no emotion or feeling behind it to understand why are you doing what you're doing. You just try to plug in the numbers and it's for some people, that's not enough. So that's where.
So they're just looking at, there's no, as you mentioned, there's no emotion, there's no reason, there's no why behind it.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And if you don't know what the why is, if you don't understand where these decisions were coming from, how compelled are you to make the change? Because you're just like, well, I'll just buy that, or like, well, that's just how I've done it, or like, I just give up. I'm just gonna keep spending it, or I'm just not gonna use the money the way I need to. Because you didn't go through a process of understanding why these decisions are there, or why do you even feel that way? Because we're not taught how to do this.
Yeah,
so
we're really not.
Yeah, we just continue with life and then we're like, I don't know why I keep messing up. So that's how those two pieces come together.
That's fantastic. So when you're looking at, basically, you're giving them a great framework of how you're holding them accountable, helping them find their why. I mean, it's a lot. Before this conversation, right, we were just saying, okay, maybe let's just do a budget. But it's more than just a budget.
Oh gosh, yes.
Let's get these blockages. Let's get a reason as to why are we. What's the goal? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And then so there's this whole process that you're putting in place with the client to help them achieve those goals, those financial goals. Which really, achieving those financial goals mean you're achieving a lot of other goals, right? So that's a great place to start.
Most of the goals require money, so yeah, it's got to start with this.
Yes, so you're really right, as they would say, the first stop in regards to getting a lot of these accomplishments done. Because if the blockages are not being taken care of, or being handled, or being addressed up front, a lot of times I've seen where a person would sit and make a goal, whether it's financially or doing a budget, and you can never get to the point of, accomplishing it, because what you're saying is a lot of time we're the problem, and we're the issue mentally of not being able to reach that goal. So for you to be able to sit with a person, help them identify those gaps, be able to really just shift. It's really a shift, isn't it? To get them to start thinking differently about money. So how would a person connect with you and like, how do you do your services? Do you do it virtually mostly now, or do you go to the office? They come to your office? How do you work with a client?
Yeah, everything is virtual. So we can do everything through Zoom. We can do it on the phone. And if you want to reach me, you can just reach me up there on those social media handles, or you at Gen Money Coach, or you can go to my site and book a 30-minute consult. We can talk about your situation. It's very easy, and so you just book some time, and then we'll talk about what is it that you're struggling with, or what is it that you're working on, but you just can't seem to. Like, what is it? Why is it not happening for me? We've all gone through that feeling. And so this is that moment where you're like, okay, if you tried what you've been trying and you're like, okay, I should be so much further along. I'm sick and tired of not doing the things that I should be doing, or, I've been trying and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. If you're feeling any of those things, yeah, let's just chat. Let's just chat. And if it doesn't seem like a good fit, I'm the first to tell you. It has to be, a win-win situation. And sometimes I have that conversation where, the person's not ready, but there's some small things that they can do in the meantime. And so, we can just talk about whatever it is that you need help with.
So if someone wanted to get ready to work with you, what should they have in place? What should they get started? What's a great way for them to start getting ready to work with a coach such as yourself?
I would say the biggest thing is to be open-minded. Be open-minded to understanding this is going to probably test you. This is probably going to make you really dig deep. And sometimes it's like this. It's almost like therapy, but it's not therapy. I'm not a therapist, so let me just make that disclaimer. So, in some of the situations I've helped people with, it's like this light bulb goes on and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's like this amazing transformation for them when they're even just at the point where they're writing their story and they're like, wow, I haven't thought about that in so many years and I'm already 45. I forgot that happened when I was 12. And so they're going down this road of, memory lane, but then they're starting to see like, oh my gosh, there's these different things. So I encourage somebody, be open-minded. Be open-minded that this is probably something you probably haven't done before, that it's a process. It's not going to happen, overnight or, in like 2 weeks. And also I would say, be willing to invest in yourself. I see, obviously because I see people's money situations all the time, I'm thinking like, give yourself this gift. I see the crazy things people spend their money on and I'm like, you're going to buy that. You're going to buy that, but you don't want to invest in getting help. Okay. So that I would say, if it's not with me, you need to invest with somebody to help you start making the changes that you've been putting off for so long. Because imagine like time is something that is a commodity we can never make more of. So the more time that passes and you're not getting the help that you need, or, imagine how much time and the opportunities that are probably not happening for you because you're putting this off for so long. But it's such an amazing thing to witness when I see people have this breakthrough. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like, that's something I love is when I see them just, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is so cool. That's what I live for, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like we cracked it. You're starting to see the light and where this can take you now.
That's huge, a breakthrough. And it's interesting that you're saying like this is an investment. This is not a cost, right? Because to me, this is something that maybe it should start when a person is in their 20s, because do you really want to wait till you're in your 60s to realize that you've been holding these blockages and really just stopping from money flowing into your life? So that is something like the sooner you can do it, right? Would you agree with that? The sooner you can do this process, the better. And I love how you mentioned about the breakthrough. And that's forever, to be able to have that breakthrough and open the channels to start receiving the blessings and financially aspect of it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. And it's interesting that you mentioned about the awareness and the mindset. But how do you work with that they feel that their connection about their money is a cost versus an investment, or someone else is the reason why the money is not flowing? Like, how do you handle a conversation with a person that is possibly seeing that their financial situation is based on someone else?
Yeah, that's a definite mindset shift that needs to take place. And so, you know, one of the concepts that people can understand is cause and effect. So, you know, if you're at cause, you are taking responsibility, you are taking ownership that everything is happening because of the decisions I make, you choosing the path that you take. Or you can be at effect where like, I'm the victim, and that's actually another archetype, the victim. Or everything is happening to me because, you know, these people are holding me down, or, you know, this is my situation, I can't come up above it. And so you have to make a decision. And of course, that some things take time, because there are sometimes when there's traumatic events that have taken place in somebody's life that sometimes I have to refer, like, okay, this needs a little more deeper therapy work beyond my scope. And so that can happen. But I think the first step is to recognize you are in control of your situation, your destination, the choices you make, the avenues and the roads that you want to take in order to get to where you're trying to go. But that has to be, you have to own that. You have to take ownership of that. Because, I mean, think about so many people that are so successful, especially in business, especially the ones that were underdogs, the people like Tyler Perry, homeless. I mean, I know so many people that are homeless, or they were homeless, or they lost everything. They were an orphan. I mean, all kinds of stories, and they overcame it. So those are examples of like, it's not, yes, it's unfortunate something happened to you, but you make the decision if you want to stay there. You can blame everybody else, but where is that going to get you? Not only that, the thing that you have to recognize too, when you choose to stay in that position, you are also choosing to hang on to the blame. You're choosing to hang on to unforgiveness. You're choosing to hang on to guilt and shame and play the victim. And that's the problem, is that you need to get past that. Because here's the thing, a lot of people say like, well, they hurt me and I don't want to forget it. I can't just forget the pain that they caused me. But I have to encourage people all the time, and I call this financial forgiveness. The forgiveness is not for the person. The forgiveness is not for the person that hurt you. It's for you. It doesn't matter if that person, because that person could be long gone dead. It doesn't matter. Forgiveness is for you.
Jen,
you have to let that go. You have to let that go, because that you're the one stopping the blessing. You're the one unforgiveness has been linked to cancer. It's been linked to cancer. So I'm telling people, like, this is not just about your money. This is about saving your life. You have to let that go, because the forgiveness is not for the perpetrator. It's for you to release that. And just, I'm not saying forget it, but let that go. Let that be a lesson and learn from it. But you have to give yourself the ability to move forward.
Well, I'm going to start releasing, Jen, because I'm going through the session right now. So I know anyone who's hearing this is going to be able to just take these nuggets, right? And just start applying them right now. And it's funny, as you were mentioning that, I find myself saying, okay, who do I need to forgive? Because I need to get this flowing quickly. That is that's another
exercise. That's a simple, here, I'll give you guys a freebie. This is a simple exercise. Give yourself even 15 minutes, if that, because I know you're all busy. But you know, some of us are going back into quarantine, but this is an exercise you can do. Sit somewhere, give yourself the gift of some time, and just put some like soft music, go on YouTube, find some kind of meditation music, whatever is gonna soothe you, and just be with yourself and just think and just write people's names down that you need to forgive. Again, I'm not saying you gotta contact them. I'm not saying you gotta have a kumbaya session and like, you know, we're all cool. I'm not saying that. This is about you acknowledging these different people. It could be family, it could be anybody. But, you know, and then just look at it and just like, okay, and there is this, it's like a prayer. It's called Ho'oponopono. It's like from Hawaii, but the premise is I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you. And you're just releasing that. You're releasing that so that it's for you to just release that negative energy out of your space.
So where could they find, how can they connect with you to get that prayer? Because I mean, I know
you know what I'll do is when I will give you a link, and I will include that, I'll put that in the free gifts, because I want to also give gift you guys the first
Okay.
3 chapters of the book. So I'll put that in there. So I'll make sure to give Carla the link, and then you guys can download there. And then definitely just put some other stuff in there for you, because I really, really think that if we can all just allow ourselves to go through this process, even if it's those simple steps in the beginning, not even going into the deep dive work, but if you can even just do those simple things, like I'm telling you, it's just like this release, and you're going to allow other things to come in. Yes.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about, because I know, you've covered so much. You're just a pack of Jen,
Oh,
right?
thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about the book, because I know I'm excited and I'm looking for
Yes.
I'm looking for my
So this book, Do Before I Do, I've done about 6 of them. So this was the 5th one that was published. The 6th one's kind of still in publishing. But this one, I went through a divorce myself in 2009. And then I was, for a few years, I was focusing on helping women going through that transition, because I went through it myself. And so there came a point later on where I realized, like, wait, I'm catching them at the end of this. What if I can catch them before they go through this? Preventative measures versus damage control. And so that helped me start to think about, you know what? Finances and money, that whole conversation is one of the biggest reasons for divorce, next to cheating. It's about money. Money is the biggest thing that people argue about in a marriage, in a relationship. And so again, like I told you in the very, very beginning, if we don't learn this in school, I mean, what more when somebody else comes into the picture and now there's 2 of you and you had never talked about money, and now you're trying to bring in all these philosophies, all these different, like, it's not only that person's mother and father and the influence, but it's also this other person's. And so you're trying to come together. So this book is about the questions that you need to ask each other so you can start having these healthy conversations about money.
Wow. So this would definitely need to be before, almost as if before relationships. This sounds like a great, like, college gift. Is it, or like a high school gift?
It can be. Yeah. In fact, I'm actually working on that right now to bring together a keynote for college students about, relationships and money, because that's where it starts. Like, okay, I want to take this girl out, or I want to go on this trip, or stuff like that. It's like, well, okay, this all involves money. You talked about goals earlier. I'm like, yeah, everything always comes back down to the money. Do we even have the money to do these things and these goals that we want to achieve? But yes, absolutely. And ideally, of course, if we can get to this information before we get into that situation or become into a committed situation. But it's absolutely great if you're single, because it's you're building awareness for yourself to prepare you, so that when you meet somebody, let me tell you, I joke around with this all the time. I talk about the things that I messed up in this book, and I joke around the title should be don't do as I did. Don't do as I did. And I made these mistakes. That's why I can tell you from experience, like, I should have looked out for these red flags that my ex had. And we try to work some of it out, but if you don't even know what to be aware of, how are you supposed to know what to be aware of in the person that you're trying to be with?
Wow.
And then what ends up happening is you get together, you get married, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't even know how much money you make. I don't even know how you feel about saving. I don't even know how you feel about letting family and friends borrow money from us. Should we pull out from our retirement if your mom wants to borrow money? Again, a lot of these things don't get talked about. So that's where you start fighting.
So this book can actually be, it sounds like this book can be something that a group of people can come together and discuss it, or just to kind of get a lot of clarity, even going out into the world and dealing with, the financial aspect of relationships, maybe even how you connect with business partners. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of information that, gosh, you got me thinking, Jen. It's like, I need that book.
Yeah, I broke it down in different areas. So there's like estate planning and insurance. There's also future investing. There's also how do we figure out the spending habits? That's where I surveyed people, and I found out the spending habits was the biggest part that people argued about, because you were like, for example, what if one is a saver and the other one was a spender? now you start having these clashes of like, well, I want to buy what I want, you know, I work hard for that, and the other person saying like, yeah, but we need to save for retirement, and then you're arguing. So, you know, you gotta understand what you're getting involved with, but understanding, I think what I drove home in this book was about having respectful conversations and how to create that space where you may not agree, you may be coming from completely opposite sides, but it's how you're coming to the table to speak to one another with love and respect, and not being sarcastic and not like, what do we need to talk about for? You know, those kinds of things, that's not helping. So this is about how do we have these open conversations with respect and love towards one another and listening.
And keeping really, like, as you mentioned, because of the divorce situation, this can actually literally save a relationship, save a marriage, just by learning some of these tips and tools that they're able to apply into their life, right? On a personal or professional level.
Absolutely, yeah.